Welcome to Backstories, the podcast where we dig deep into the untold tales behind the people, places, and moments that shape our world. Every month, we'll uncover the hidden narratives that inspire, surprise, and challenge us. So, grab your headphones and get ready to journey into the past, one backstory at a time.
So first up tonight is Jeff, and he has a story about sunset on the Bayou.
I'll always be grateful for sunsets over the bayou. I was born in a tiny cabin outside Delacroix Island, Louisiana, in the year of our Lord, 1907. My granddaddy settled here after the War of the States. He told me that the horrors he saw made him long for the quiet, far away from people. And anyway, Delacroix Island, or just the island if it please you, is about as far away from people as you can get. Down Louisiana Highway 300, it dead ends right past Delacroix. You'll see signs marking it, El Fin de Mundo, the end of the world. My daddy made his living fishing and trapping all up and down those waterways in the Gulf where he could get the work. When he couldn't, he made his money ferrying just about anyone and anything up and down those same waterways, as far down south as Empire and Boothville, over to Fort Proctor and St. Malo. Sometimes there was even call to follow up the Mississippi up into Baton Rouge, but that weren't very often. So it was just Mama, me, and Daddy. We never had much, but we never wanted for much either. I was but 8 when the great New Orleans hurricane swept through. That took care of a good many of the Isleños, those descended from the Spanish who settled here about 1,000 years ago. Those who didn't die or lost their homes in the hurricane invariably got wiped out with the sweep of the Spanish flu 2 years later. Over 1,000 of them died, almost all buried in a single mass grave over at St. Bernard's Catholic Cemetery. We was never church-going folk. Maybe that's why I'm still here. Around age 12, my daddy started bringing me along on those ferrying trips. He said it never hurt to have another man's eyes looking out for danger. I never knew what danger he was talking about, but it made my heart swell with pride that my daddy considered me a man. He also said that sometimes a man can get by in life just by knowing when to keep your mouth shut. That seemed to make Daddy swell with pride of his own. He seemed to be exactly the kind of man who didn't ask questions at the wrong time from the wrong people. Especially when it came to the crates we was carrying. We was getting paid to ferry them from south to north, but to hear my daddy tell we was getting paid just as much for what we didn't do. Didn't ask questions, didn't look too hard at the faces of those unloading or loading the crates. Didn't cause any unnecessary fuss. So I tried my best to follow his example, keep my head down and get the job done. Except once. My daddy was navigating a treacherous part past Carlisle on the Big River. His attention diverted, I snuck a peek into the crate. I thought maybe I'd see bottles, moonshine, medicine, or such. What I thought I saw, or was about to see, was something moving. Anyway, I can't be sure because before I knew it, an explosion of stars lit up inside my head. I fell back on my behind and it took me a few seconds before I realized my daddy backhanded me something fierce. He cussed me out too, real bad. Never seen Daddy so angry. It reminded me of something he told me once when he took me hunting just a few years prior. He said most animals that seem scary or angry were really just scared. It occurred to me then that maybe Daddy wasn't actually angrier after all. Lord knows he never had a temper, so he did just hit and cuss me because he was angry, maybe because he was scared. Maybe he was right to be scared. I know I was. A few months later, we was doing another run just down past Port Sulphur up to Belle Chase. We left after supper time. My mama gave my daddy a stern look and said under her breath, "Be careful." What her eyes said that her mouth didn't was, "Don't go." In any case, we went. It was about an hour before dark as we got underway. That meant we got to see the sun setting over the bayou as we went. I'll always love those sunsets. We picked up our crate at dock number 13 in Port Sulphur. 2 huge, muscular shoremen loaded the crate onto the back of our boat. One of them removed his hat, wiped his brow from the effort of hauling placing the crate. He was bald with a big scar down one cheek. That man nodded once, then looked at me with no expression at all. He walked down that dock, no wave, no watching us go, no goodbyes. My daddy seemed to go out of his way not to touch that crate. I just assumed it was one more thing he thought he was getting paid not to do. When we arrived at Belle Chase several hours later, pulled alongside the dock. 2 men stood waiting still as statues. I threw in the line. They tied us up. Those men could have been the twins of those two down in Port Sulphur, but that can't be. Once we were secure, one of them hopped down onto a boat like he owned the damn thing himself. Where I come from, that was bad manners, no way around it. Before I knew it, that huge man hoisted that crate up out of its place, popped it onto his shoulder with one hand like it was packed with nothing but feathers and moonlight, handed it to his partner dockside. From there, my memory gets a bit hazy. I know that man approached my daddy. I know my daddy extended his hand for that envelope like he did every night. Instead, that man pulled out something else from his pocket, something that glinted in the moonlight. He wrapped his arms around Daddy like he was giving a big old bear hug, except there was no affection in it. My daddy breathed hard and started coughing something fierce. I didn't know what happened after that because the other man, the man on the dock, he had jumped down into the boat and was grabbing me too. Then it all just kind of went black. Next thing I remember, I was back home on the island. That's Delacroix Island. Right on the sandbar, barefoot, my toes sinking in. No daddy, no boat, no crate, no huge fearsome men. No idea how I got there. Starting to get light, but the sun hadn't come up in the east yet. I don't remember ever seeing the actual sunrise that day or any day since, but I never miss the sunset that's always right there. Sometimes I wonder about Daddy and the boat and the crate, what happened to them. It worries me. It unsettles me. Sometimes I wonder what happened to me. Much has changed up and down these waterways. Many more people have come, more boats traverse the bayou, but I'm still 12. Nowadays, less than 50 Isleños live on Delacroix, but I'm still here. Truth is, I can't figure out a way to leave. Not that I'm overeager. Those troublesome thoughts float to my mind to just sit near the water, let my feet dangle in, and those thoughts drift away in the beauty of the sunset. Sunset's never far away. I'll always be grateful for those sunsets on the bayou. Thank you.